but I wanted to get your take on this. This is something that came up in a really great Dan Hayes article in The Athletic. The Twins obviously just played we'll call it an interesting series in Toronto, but they were reunited with two former org mates in Louis Varland and David Popkins. And Hayes completed and did pieces in The Athletic about both of those, catching up with Varland and Popkins. And I just want to read you a quote from the Popkins interview that jumped out to me. Now, of course, background and context here, the Twins offense has continued to struggle after parting ways with Popkins at the end of 2024. The Blue Jays are a top 2 or 3 offense in the American League. We can have a conversation about whether that's largely due to coaching or just a gulf in class and talent. But here's a quote from Popkins in the Hayes article that I'm curious for your reaction on. Here's what Popkins says. We had kind of agreed I was going to be extended for several years. I thought that was already agreed upon, but when it happened referring to being let go, I was blindsided. There was initial shock. But as soon as you get those calls from other teams, you feel the body of work was noticed and appreciated, and you forget about it pretty quick. I love where I'm at now. Just curious for your thoughts, right? I posted that on social media and just was like, I'm not casting judgment on the decision, but I don't think that's ever how you would want someone you employ to perceive things going down. Whether or not it was a good decision to move on from Popkins at the end of last season. What do you think?
And my immediate thought when I read that was exactly what you said. You can't have former employees perceive it the way that he did, whether it's accurate or not. Right. And the harder part to really get a grasp on in situations like this is, I would assume a lot of things for both professional athletes and the coaches at the professional ranks are done through agents.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if he's and maybe I'm completely off, and Popkins handles this on his own, which is possible, right? If your agent's giving you signals right now, you're not hearing it firsthand. So there's some things that can be lost in translation.
For sure.
But thinking that you're going to be around for several years and then not being asked back, I think that gives potential future employees maybe less of a potential to be future employees, right? If where you're working has things that are not great for the workers, it's harder. We've seen it now with the players.
Yep.
We've seen it with the coaches. We've literally seen it with everybody but front office and coaching and like the manager, where it's like you can do no wrong even if you're awful. And I'm not saying that Rocco's been awful. I mean, you can blame him as much as anybody. He would be the easiest to replace. Although that was always under the adage that you can't trade an entire team. And the Twins proved that to be inaccurate. So I do think it's kind of a black eye, kind of the yellow flag on the organization. And the hard part is that you're never going to hear an organization. You probably aren't going to hear an organization turn around and say their side of the story.
Yep, for sure.
And Dan does an awesome job. I don't think he would print that if he felt at all like it wasn't an accurate portrayal of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is worse too. The other thing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure you know better than I do. Popkins was like highly endorsed by Carlos Correa, right? Wasn't that?
Yep.
Wasn't he the one?
Yes.
And so with Correa coming back and being, on a long-term deal, and then Popkins being, I feel like there's a chasm here chasm. How do you say that word?
Chasm. No, you got it. Chasm.
Between what's happening and what we're seeing and the beliefs of everybody in between. It's weird, and it's not a great feeling. It's not a great feeling as a fan of the organization.
Yep. And and it's really hard, right? Because the recency bias of losing so much is going to impact, I think, how we feel about this.